Hi, everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Jaylyn. I am the founder and CEO of JLW Medical Management Consulting, and I came briefly on here to create several tips for new practice owners to be able to adopt when they're doing their market research, to be able to know if they are in the right location. So there are several things that you need to know as a new practice owner, whether or not you are moving your practice into the right location. The first things first is you need to understand the housing market. You need to know whether or not housing has been thriving or it's been surviving, whether or not houses have been left on the market for long periods of time, whether or not there have been major foreclosures in the area. All of those things speak to the current economy and where it is. If people are not in their houses, that means that they probably can't afford it. And if they can't afford it, there's probably been some type of job transition or life transition that has taken place that has got them out of their house. So being in housing is really an important key, and or understanding the housing market is an important key for you to know whether or not that is a valuable area to be in. The second thing that you need to be paying attention to is the unemployment and employment statistics. You need to know whether or not that area has a high unemployment rate, or it's just been trending, or it's gone up but it's gone down. You need to know the changes in the market and whether or not employment is going to be a huge factor into whether or not your potential patients can continue to pay you at the rate in which they're paying you. So for example, if the current area has a large corporation that has laid people off numerous times, okay, it's not even just once, they're constantly restructuring. Do keep in mind that those organizations do get penalties every time they lay people off. If they are going through another restructure, is this an area where you should still be moving into? You need to know how these corporations in your area impact your practice, right? If they are partnering with a large health payer and being able to deliver insurance to their employees through that health payer, then you need to know whether or not that is going to disrupt your money, right? So if you are accepting insurance and you are getting the reimbursements through a particular payer that is prominent in that area, you need to know this, right? This also applies to cash pay clients as well, right? Because change in job might mean that maybe I'm not coming twice a week, I'm coming once a week, or maybe I'm not coming bi-weekly, I'm coming every month, right? Because everybody's budget is different, everybody's bank account is different. You don't know if people are starting over or if they've always had the savings to be able to maintain. And these are things that you need to start paying attention to when you're deciding to open up your practice and know if you are in the right area, right? So many times I've heard patients say, okay, well, I've paid all this money to this mental health provider and I haven't gotten through, or I haven't overcome certain things. And one of many reasons why they may still be in the same place or struggling is because they have other areas in their life that are being impacted. This goes back to SDOH barriers. You know, a lot of different professionals, they don't like to combine and bridge the gaps between how the economy, SDOH barriers, and services to healthcare are all linked together. They like to separate it and compartmentalize it, right? Okay, well, the economy is this issue and this over here. The SDOH barrier is this issue and has to do with the individual, not us. And then healthcare is over here. We don't give away charity services. We don't give away free services. We don't give away reduced services. But the reality is you moved into a market where reduced services would be required, which now goes to pricing. If you are not pricing at a certain level that allows you to be able to still get a profit, still pay your expenses, both business and personal, and regardless of who comes to you and says, I need help with a flexible rate, or what I like to call a baseline rate, then now you've put yourself in a position where you're not creating abundance, you're not creating opportunities for increase, you're making just enough to pay your expenses and yourself. And that is not proper pricing. I want to make it very clear. Pricing is around your ability to make a profit Okay, pricing is around your ability to make a profit. And a part of being able to make a profit is really taking into consideration the area in which you're in, knowing whether those market forces make a huge impact on your practice in a negative or positive way. If it is going to impact you negatively, maybe you're going to the next town over or the next county over where you are marketing to that client. And when you set your pricing, because I want to slightly go back to that, and you set it at your regular rate and your baseline rate should also be included in what you need to make in order to maintain. What happens if all your ideal clients lose their job tomorrow? Okay, what happens, excuse me, I'm sorry, I had an itch. What happens if the IRS comes and takes some of your clients' bank accounts tomorrow? I don't wish that upon anybody. I'm speaking realities. What happens when they seize their account information tomorrow? Okay? What happens when property is seized and all these things are seized, and now your patient went from a total paying patient to now, ooh, I'm struggling, I need your help. Do you dismiss them or do you continue their care? Do you say go find another therapist who can help you? Those are things that we need to start factoring in when we are setting our pricing, okay? Because continuation of care is real. Putting somebody back out into the streets without proper care or care coordination, or finding them another mental health provider is no longer acceptable. We need to be able to either meet them where they are and or be able to connect them with viable resources so that they don't have to wait another 3 to 6 months. I really want providers to be able to start to understand how important this is, being able to have those conversations at the beginning during the consults about pricing, utilizing the estimates that were handed down through CMS as a regulatory requirement to really talk about this is what your pricing will be every week, every other week, twice a week, once a month, whatever the case may be. And really holding that patient accountable and I have to go back and check to see if regulations have changed since I last reviewed them. If a signature is now required from the patient, as it stands, when I first read it, when it first came out and was approved, that signature is not required, but it was suggested that providers get signatures at time of consultations because it holds that patient accountable in knowing and saying that they have received the estimate, right? How many know that your signature is your word, right? It is binding, legally binding. So once you sign it, you are saying, yes, I have received it. And you need to make sure you have a copy on file of that signature if you do adopt it. But that is another conversation for another day, another video. We're not going to focus on that today. We're solely focusing on market changes. Also, if you have Facebook communities, if you've been building it in your area and getting to know people, are you asking the right qualifying questions? Meaning, if you are a therapist that works solely with children, do you have a quorum or a community solely focused on children? Right? Are you asking patients what they're experiencing? Are you trying to get an understanding of what's happening at the education level and how the education system or what's happening in that district is impacting those children? Are they seeing more increase in suicide? Are they seeing more increase in depression? What is it tied to? Is it tied to housing? We talked about housing earlier. Is it tied to income? Is it tied to just life transitions in general? Is it tied to death? These are things that you need to know and understand from the people who you are serving, right? Where do your patients show up? Where do they go? Where can you adopt surveys? Do they spend more time at a field and a playground? Do they spend more time at a community organization? Do they just hang around in the community? Yes, your target audience are the children, but the ones you're communicating to are the parents. So you need to know wherever that child is, the parent is more likely to be there and or send a representative, because let's just be honest, some parents are not with their kids 24/7, all hours of the day. Let's just keep it 100, right? So these are the things that you need to understand when it comes to being able to receive feedback from the community, knowing what's happening in your town. If you don't know what's happening on a micro level, like you're not having those conversations with the local community members, you're not attending the community events, then what are you really doing? The last and final piece, I'm going to give you a bonus tip because this is completely different from market research and health equity strategies. This is more so about client attraction because I'm very big on making sure people understand that even though you're virtual, you are still powerful and can still show up for your community. Host a virtual open house. I shared this in the room on Clubhouse for Take Off Tuesdays. Lord, I don't even know my own title. Help me, Jesus. Take Off Tuesdays. I shared a valuable research, something I learned in my position as a director of admissions for a rehabilitation center. One of the things that I used to do on a regular basis was host open houses. In person, we would have breakfast for them. We would take them on tours of the facility. We would talk about new changes that we have, new programs, or if we were trying to promote a specific CEU, then we would talk about that CEU, and whoever the facilitator was would come and lead that discussion. These are things that you need to be able to adopt in a virtual setting. Partner with a company like DoorDash or Uber Eats and send your participants food ahead of time. If you have a brick and mortar, but you don't necessarily want people to attend in-house, but you do want them to know about your facility, offer them a virtual tour. You show up to your building and you go around with the camera saying, this is our exam room. This is the feel that they would get. This is where they would come in the waiting room. People love this stuff. They eat this stuff up all the time. I tell you, we used to have like 25 participants come and it would be packed, and we would have to do two, one in the morning, one in the nighttime, because they enjoyed being there. I mean, who doesn't want free food? Come on. All right. So being able to adopt an open house strategy, make it more informational, make it about the community, which will in turn be about you, right? When you invest in your business, you invest in your patients. When you invest in your patients, you invest in yourself. That's the reality. And so we need to be able to adopt these strategies in an efficient and strategic manner. The last piece that I will make, and if I can remember it, because I was moving really fast in my mind. All right, y'all. I can't remember what I was going to say. I'm really sorry. I know it was a really good point too. Yeah, we'll just leave it there. I think I gave you enough for right now. What you think? All right, y'all. So this is what I need you to do. If you found this information valuable, granted, this is not a Takeoff Tuesday. Complete our Takeoff Tuesday evaluation. Let me know how I did presenting, giving you the information, and being able to present accordingly. I just got the thought back. This is another tip that I will give you in terms of client attraction, because it also goes back to your economy and being able to know what's happening with your potential patients. Talk to the primary care physicians. I'm telling you, talk to the primary care physicians, talk to the specialists, talk to the people who see these patients on a regular basis. Now, I will say some offices, not most, but some offices do a really bad job of collecting SDOH information. Let's just keep it 100. We're in healthcare, okay? Like, there are just some people who don't believe in it, who don't think it's necessary. They just click whatever and they put it in the patient's chart, and that's that, regardless of what the patient says, right? So when you have these conversations with the primary care office, you're not only adding value to them, but they're adding value to you. And let me tell you how. If the PCP sees the patients on a regular basis, right, whether that's preventative, for flu, cold, whatever the case may be, they most likely can tell you all they need to know about their patients on a macro and micro level, right? They've seen all the patients, they have monitored the trends, they know what's happening with them at any given time. So when you ask them what their need is and what they are finding to be a barrier amongst their patients, you are now inviting them to share more information, more data. Nobody likes the D word, but data. You are gathering the things that you need in order to make an informed decision of whether or not this is a market you can support. If you are a person that's focused on relationships and the doctor's office is seeing more domestic violence situations and abuse situations, you've just positioned yourself accordingly. Why? Because you offer a value when it comes to relationships, or maybe when it comes to domestic violence. If you specialize in domestic violence, now you've positioned yourself accordingly. Now, maybe they're your secondary client, right? Because we still have to factor housing, economics, and all of those things. If you are focused solely on on your target market, on your ideal client, maybe the town over or the county over has a thriving economy, but they're seeing less domestic violence. So what I would recommend, market in one area around domestic violence, letting them know, hey, listen, we can serve your needs, because now you're adding value to the PCPs who knew nothing about you, right? PCPs, we saw a study that said 7 out of 10 physicians will refer to the same kind of specialty and the same people they know based off the information that they have. And so if they don't know about you, then you need to make yourself known. And that is also when you are marketing in your primary territory. I hope that this was a value add and you can apply it. We look forward to having more conversations with you during Takeoff Tuesdays, as well as during our masterclass series. Make sure you select the link in our bio to sign up for an upcoming class. We host different ones from your mindset. Are you prepared for private practice? And we give you more of an informational overview of that. Then we have getting started in private practice. That one takes you from A to Z, your entire startup. That one is a lot longer than all our other classes. You participants can expect to be in that class for up to 7 hours. And the reason being is that we are literally walking you through step by step how to apply for certain structures. It is definitely recommended that you have had a talk with an attorney and or an accountant who specializes in business structure. I also have a connection. Well, she could be a friend too in the future. Work it out, right? Her name is Tamika. She comes from the health insurance side of things. She offers compliance training and making sure that your business is legitimate, right? And set up and ready for grants and contracting. So make sure you tap in with her, because she also touches on business structure. Again, talk to an attorney, talk to an accountant. Make sure you have those viable conversations with them before you attend this one, because we are walking, if they haven't already done it with you, we are walking you through the process of how you can apply in your state. We are also going through how to obtain your NPI number. Many people don't know how to do that. We're also going through the process of you getting your EIN number. We're teaching you that. These are things that you need to know as a business owner, because when you start applying for these programs like grants and corporate sponsorships and government contracts, you need to have your EIN. Like you're gonna need certain documents and certain numbers in order to submit your application. And if you don't have that, then you're not a business, period. So we are going to walk you through that. We're going to walk you through the pros and cons of cash pay and insurance pay. I'm not going to push it. Listen, I got some friends on here. They'll tell you, okay, like I stay advocating for health equity, but the reality is some people are not focused on that. And that's okay. That is just where they are, right? And so being able to know the benefits, the pros and the cons of cash pay and insurance is extremely vital. So we walk you through that. We literally take you through every step so that you are prepared, so that when you go out on your own and you're working with your consultants or whatever the case may be, you have the knowledge ahead of time. Too many times I hear providers saying that they don't know how to do certain things, or people in general when they're starting a business, that they don't know how to do certain things. And so we're making sure you have the foundations that you need to set yourself up appropriately and confidently. Our other classes are around Show Me the Money, y'all. Y'all know where that line came from, what movie it came from. Show Me the Money. We cover everything from insurance in that one. We go over everything you need to know about insurance. The reality is a lot of people have moved away from the payer for various different reasons, but the common reason that we are finding people are moving away from payers is they don't understand the total revenue cycle process when it comes to collecting their money and knowing how to appropriately advocate during an appeals process. There is so much to revenue. This is why I cringe when I hear providers say they do it themselves, because I'm like, okay, well, I want to know about these submissions. Are you getting paid on time, or are you finding that you're having large gaps? Because if you're having large gaps, honey, baby, you need to hire somebody, because there's so many intricacies and so many things that are tied into policy and what's happening in the background, and changes, constant changes that have you losing out on money. So we want to make sure that you are no longer losing out on money, that you are fully educated on the revenue cycle process, so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to look at enrolling in certain payers, because that's real. We'll even go through insurance outlook and the things that you need to look for in the market trends. Another course that we're offering is developing a strong strategic foundation. That goes back from your business plan all the way to your framework. If you don't have a strong foundation, honey child, you don't need to be in practice right now. Let's just keep it 100. Okay. If you don't know what kind of staff you need, the competencies that they need to have, the skills that they currently have, and how that translates into your practice, the skills they need to acquire, if you don't have the patience and or the leadership style to be able to help influence that to move your business forward, then my friend, you are going to struggle. You do not need to be in private practice right now. You need to go and develop yourself a little bit more, because you need to be able to know what your practice needs at all times. You need to be able to influence your staff and understand areas of the process in which they are hindered. Meaning, so a good example of this is if your practice is getting a lot more calls than normal, right? Is it because there's a change in the market demand? Did another practice close? Is it because that there is a change in let's say natural disaster? Is it because another company has just left the area? You need to know why people are calling you. Could it be that this is just the time of day that works best for these particular patients, and now they're calling at this specific time because they feel like they can get through to your office? You need to know that. You need to know whether or not you need to hire more staff. You need to get an answering service. You need to close down the phone lines, and don't close down the phone lines, but promote the use of the EHR system and messaging. These are things you need to be able to identify. And if you can't identify these things, then you're going to run into another problem. So that is why it's good to have a framework to go back and reference and know what is and is not working. We do have several more courses that we offer and will be offering in the future. And this is why we need you to fill out the course evaluation. We want to hear from you, or I should say continue hearing from you. We want to know what are the issues that you are impacted by, so that we can turn around and continue to help you work through these things. So I thank you so much for tuning in, checking out our video, and staying abreast to different topics that we want to address. We are really trying to help you guys be educated in your state, in your market, and understand how to win in this season. Hashtag sustaining practices through crises. I appreciate you, love you, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.